While at the Tribeca Film Festival, I went to a screening of Casino and got to listen to a Q&A with Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese.
Back at the litter of Las Vegas to reveal a deeper story about power, loyalty, and the cost of ambition in America. Marty and Bob have created some of the most unforgettable stories of our time. The work has shaped modern cinema as we know it today. They also, if you want to look at your TikTok later, you should see how they're shaping that. On a personal note, I'm truly honored to be here with both of them. Marty was actually the one who introduced me to Bob over 3 decades ago, and that introduction changed the course of my life. I'm proud to call them my friends. You're about to be treated to an intimate, wide-ranging conversation between the two, moderated by someone who brings sharp wit, wisdom, and a fearlessness and a deep love of storytelling to everything he does, the brilliant W. Kamau Bell. Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Marty, Bob, and Kamau.
Thank you for being so nice to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being so excited to see me out here. These two notable New Yorkers. Give them one more round of applause. Martin Scorsese. Thank you both for allowing me to be out here to do this. Any number of people in this audience who have done this, but I got this offer to do this, so thank you. I'm a huge fan of the casino. Thank you for letting me do this. I feel it. So, a famous director, Mr. Scorsese, once said that Casino is a movie with no plot. What do you think about what that director said? And also, is it weird that it was you?
Yeah, it's a substantial length film. We wanted to sustain one note, so to speak, pushing all the way through the length of the picture, and make it feel as if it's like a breathless experience. I don't know if the plot was necessary. Meaning, I don't mean to be, because I often think films that you think about or things you've read, often if you really examine them, you find that, I find that a lot of the films that I like, let's say a Hitchcock Vertigo, for example, who cares about the plot at this point? It's like, and also if you really analyze that plot, it's highly improbable. So what are we watching it for? You're watching it for other reasons. You're watching it for some other kind of poetry, cinema, color, the actors, the dialogue, a mood, a tone, and an experience. And so, you know, what I'm getting at is that I think if you find that you're watching a film for a plot, or you read a book for a plot, unless the characterization is so unique and psychological depth and emotional depth, there's no reason to read it again or see it again because you know the plot.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
Exactly. I agree with you now and then when you said that. So I obviously started with you, Mr. Scorsese, because I was told if I start with Mr. De Niro that you wouldn't get a word in edgewise.
No, that's impossible.
Yeah.
I really have to do it.
Yeah. So now I'm going to him. So please try to get back in if you can. Mr. De Niro, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for the Tribeca Festival. Which is quite often. I find Casino to be one of those movies, sort of similar to what you said, Mr. Scorsese, that it's like the scenes are so powerful, the plot maybe doesn't matter. Because if I just turn it on and it's on, and I hear Joe Pesci say, "Look at these two balloon heads over here," I'm sitting down and finishing the movie. Mr. De Niro, one of the things I think is interesting about this movie is that in some sense, it's a mafia movie that you guys have done before, but your character specifically is different in that he's not the tough guy. We'll talk about choosing to play Ace Rothstein.
No, he's not the tough guy. He represents the Chicago mob, but he's the front man.
He's the tough guy. He's the one who winds up alive.
That's true. That's true. The guy. Otherwise, spoiler alert.
I'm saying, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I think it is interesting in that the fact that like he, in some sense, and you know, the idea that Ace Rothstein is this guy who runs a casino. There's the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it, the way that he wants to do it. He takes sort of nobody's input. It's his idea of the highway, and that ultimately leads to his ultimate destruction because he doesn't take in other people's input and sort of gets caught up in his own ego. It's almost an allegory for the times we live in. I don't know if you guys have thought about that at all. Mr. De Niro?
Yeah, a little bit.
Any thoughts on that as an allegory for the times we live in?
I got a couple hours.
I do, actually.
Hey, listen, you can go back to ancient Greek tragedy. It's the basic story of hubris, pride. You know, the pride taking us all down.
The other thing about this is that when it came out, it was often compared, I would say unfairly and lazily, to the movie you had done before, Goodfellas. And in the 30 years since, I think it is. In 30 years since, I think it has grown up quite well and can look up to its older brother Goodfellas separately and be its own thing. What was it like to you? Do you see the connection people made between this movie and Goodfellas?
For me, I mean, the word challenge. The idea was to take, I'd say the last 15 minutes before he gets arrested and Goodfellas and make that one film. In other words, take it even further and just go, you know, to the point where can we sustain a certain style? The style comes from Goodfellas, it comes from basically storytelling. And storytelling is a person telling a story. And you get that from a street corner. You get some of the best actors we ever knew were the kids who grew up around telling stories in the street. And that leads to, you know, engaging an audience when you tell a story, just one person singing, and then ultimately stand up. You know, this is the key. And Goodfellas is like a stand-up routine. Now you take it and extend it to see how far we can stretch. You know, and so it all blasts away, you know. And that also for me is a reflection of our culture at this point. And that was what, 30 years ago? So it goes even faster now.
Well, and you just mentioned stand-up. I do notice as a stand-up comedian myself that there are a lot of stand-up comedians in the film. Was that on purpose to cast all those
Yes,
stand-ups?
absolutely.
Alan King.
Oh, my God. Don Rickles.
Yes.
Don Rickles.
I think to a certain extent, Don represents part of that world too. That world that comes out of, I think, the 50s. What was the hotel? The Sands Hotel, or whatever we bought. The Funk
In Vegas.
Vegas,
yeah, the Sands.
The Sands and that sort of thing. We thought it was so cool growing up as kids. And we really, the original Ocean's 11, you know, that was our go-to movie for kind of hip, cool style. And their faces and their manner and the way they just, the body language is literally out of that world. And it comes out of New York and LA and Chicago, and they're there in Vegas. You know, I don't even know if they even live in Vegas, but they're there. You know what I mean? So they had to be in it.
Well, and there have been many stories. One of the great things about digging into this movie and actually digging into the talk around the movie was to find all these clips of the late Don Rickles, one of the greatest comedians of all time, Don Rickles, on talk shows with David Letterman, just really being mean to you, Mr. De Niro, and really enjoying the meanness of what he would say things about you. Can you talk about that, Rick?
Don was really a sweet guy. Everybody knew that. But his style, he could be right on when he was assertive and insulting you. But you know deep down he do it. His delivery was good, perfect, and all that. But he was a sweet guy who did not. Those kinds of things were not him. So you take it and have fun with it, and everybody knew that.
I really felt there was no malice there, and there was no bad feeling. He would say things that maybe we were all thinking, maybe shouldn't have said. Or say things, make them so obvious, it's like, you know, you can't stand up when you go into that. And to take that into the ground doesn't mean that's you. You know, but it may be the spirit of you at that moment. And so you've got to be able to take it. It goes back to, you know, court jesters who were able to make fun of the king and not get killed.
Hopefully.
What film?
And Mr. Deere, talking about I don't know if you've seen the clip, but there's a clip of you acting with Don Rickles and you miss your line, and Don just goes off on you about your method acting style, and about who is this guy? You got a double wide trailer, and how can you? What are you thinking in those moments?
I'm just going with it. I love when Don does that kind of stuff. I love that kind of humor. So he did it so well. So it was always fun. Yeah.
I mean, we were on a very tough schedule, and we were all pretty tired, and like, we just, forgot the line. But by that point, Don couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't take it because I was driving him crazy. Don, we'll be ready in an hour. 2 hours, 3 hours later, he was still waiting for us. He was dying. Get me out of here, was his routine. He yelled at one point to the crew, "You don't have to take this from him." Thought they were going to kill me.
Starting a mutiny on your own set, yeah. Get him! He's over there. Well, you said you were tired. I read that you actually filmed it during the middle of the night because the casinos didn't want to lose money. Is that true? That they were like, yes, you can film here, but we actually still are a casino. We're not shutting down for Hollywood. So,
I remember 6 weeks straight we shot from 10 or 11 at night till 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my thing, that was 1995. By that point, just the thing that happens, you get older, I have a thing about loud noises. And, yeah.
And so you shot in a casino?
Yeah, but I didn't really, I thought we'd get in there and everything would be fine. When they were dragging me the first night, there was a shot of you in the montage, the beginning montage. And, first of all, I was shocked because it had kind of a ticker, what are they, the sign outside, I forget which casino it was, but said, "Come and watch the shooting." Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, Joe Pesci, Don Rickles appearing now. What? I said, "What? I gotta go in there and gotta shoot."
They were advertising.
Advertising, yeah. And so they get me in the back, I go in, and my AD was Joe Reedy. He looked at me and he said, "Are you ready?" I said, yes. What's the problem? He opened the door. A wall of sound. Really, something about 10 o'clock at night. Everybody was playing, gambling, and the crew could hardly hear each other. But by around 1 in the morning, it quieted down. And then there was always like one, "Yeah, baby, we got you." And there's some guy in the back playing that roulette or something, whatever. And he kept making noise during the shot. So we had one of our guys go over and just like be the cooler.
Literally, you just...
Yeah, just sit there and look at it. Then eventually he calmed down. I think he lost. But he was killing us. But we had no control over it because they made more money on the blackjack tables and the roulette and 5-card, whatever, that we were a nuisance.
What was that frustrating, Mr. De Niro? You're trying to be in character. There's lots of dialogue that you have to go through, and to know that the business is just operating as usual behind you.
No, it's fine. The conditions were good, actually. I mean, that's why we shot at night, because it was less busy at night, and they kind of controlled it to the best, pretty well.
I understood after a while that around a certain time it just quiets, it gets a little quieter, and then you live with the noise. You were able to work and it also energized what we were doing.
Can we talk a little about the fact that even though this film is known for the performances of Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, there's an ensemble cast here that is really sort of brings this movie to life. That everybody sort of really nails their roles in this film. We talk about just the idea of like working with such a great ensemble.
With Joe Pesci and Sharon Stone, Sharon was really quite something because it was a very different way of working for me. But we had a situation where we were rehearsing, I remember, quite a while. And then we started shooting in the casino for 6 weeks a day, 6 weeks at night. But I think there was only 1 week in which she played in the casino. So then she sort of had to wait around for like 4 weeks. Yeah. And so she was wondering, what are you guys doing? Yeah. It became more like, am I going to be in this one? Yes. But the poor lady was waiting and thinking that, you know, it's so about these men in this club, in this casino. And the reality, those were the scenes, and that's the time we had to shoot them. So finally, when it kicked into gear, it really worked. And we did a lot of, I think, work and rehearsal with our, sometimes we just start shooting with Sean and you. We just roll the camera without them knowing, but not saying action or anything, just let it go. You know,
I read
scenes.
that there was a good amount of improvisation in the film too. Is that what this is?
Yeah, you could call it improvisation, but it comes out of a very analyzed, I should say, really worked upon a structure of the scene and certain key lines of dialogue that we want to get to. You know, like in that scene, you were in a pink robe. I mean, that was pretty much written. Yeah, finally written from the rehearsals. Or Joe and you in the desert.
Yeah.
That was kind of, by the point we got to that was kind of written down. I mean, you know, you don't want to stay in the desert that long. You know what I mean? We want to get out of there.
I feel like he was about to talk. I didn't want to interrupt.
I wasn't.
I saw the mic go up, and I never thought I'd tell Martin Scorsese, shut up, Robert De Niro's about to talk. But I didn't do it. Well, this gives us a great segue into the clothes, Mr. De Niro. The clothes. I heard you got the olive. Is that true?
Yeah, so I mean, I keep my stuff and I give it to the University of Texas. Because I was collecting all this stuff for years and it started getting unwieldy and expensive. I had to put it somewhere. And the Harry Ransom Center took it, wanted to. And so, because I used to see when I would do movies that, like when we did New York, my stuff was taken, this, that, you know, or pilfered, like whatever, they take it as a souvenir, understandably. And some winds up back in the costume house or whatever. I think that when I was getting my shoes and fitted for Godfather 2, the shoes, I think, that Warren Beatty wore in Bonnie and Clyde were ones they showed me that I try on to. So that's how it was. I said, I'm going to keep my stuff because why not? And just give it somewhere, and the University of Texas took it. But especially those clothes from that movie, you know.
Particular outfit that you enjoyed wearing the most, because there are quite some flamboyant color choices that we don't normally associate you with.
No, that's not my style.
But man, he's in all black and charcoal gray right now.
We toned it down, Bob. Remember, we toned it down.
Toned it down?
Oh yeah.
That was toned down?
You should see the originals.
I think we're playing a pimp. You toned it down?
Yeah, no, it was, that was the style. Well, Lefty Rosenthal, you know, that's who I went and got picked out the clothes with the same at the same place that they do also for movies. Forgetting the name, and it's art of anyway, it's a well-known shirt making, suit making place.
Isn't that one? A shirt maker to the stars.
No, that's in New York.
That's in New York, sorry.
Yeah, but this was out there, and I'm forgetting the name.
Vegas, in L.A.
Maybe, yeah. But what was I going to say? He and I just went and he picked out all the stuff he used to wear and how to wear it and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And but we couldn't, and then finally, this was in LA, and then finally, when I had to shooting in Vegas, I wanted him to go, but he couldn't go because he was in the Black Book and you're barred for life. There was no way.
Black Book is real. That is
real,
yeah.
Can't get into Nevada.
The whole state?
The whole state.
Wow.
We tried. We asked some help for people, remember?
Yeah, it was.
To try to get the actual Frank into the...
Yeah, we even, was the head of the MPA at the time. It was a friend of mine, Jack Valenti. And Jack said, I can help you, don't worry. And he called me and he said, Martin, I've never had so many doors closed in my face so fast in my life. He was a Texan. Sicilian, though, so it wasn't. And, but he said, this man is a member of the Mayfield. I said, I didn't know that.
Is there an outfit that when you put those clothes on, did you enjoy wearing them? Did you feel like you looked good in them, or was it really just about sitting in the character?
No, I liked wearing them. They were right for the character. They were very clear, explicit. It was great. But personally,
The best is when you did the scene, which is right in the middle of the film, and people see it there, in which L.Q. Jones, great actor, that, him and Stilda Martin and those guys, I mean, They were like, in a way, the ensemble actors of the American West, as in relation, let's say, to ensemble actors out of the Method in New York, or I hate to use the word the Method, but New York style. These guys are the ones you always went to, and they're always there in these films. And L.Q. Jones plays that guy who comes in, he's got those cowboy boots on. And you're wearing, I think, turquoise. And you also, very important, you get up from the desk and you have no pants on. Doing that, I think, well, the point is that if you're going to be wearing clothes like that at a certain point, you have a presentation, and there's nobody important coming around and talking to you, you don't want to ruin the crease. So you take the pants off and hang them properly in the closet, and before the meeting, all you have to do is get up, there's nobody in the room. You get up, and you go in the closet, put your pants on.
What is that like as an actor, though, Mr. De Niro, to be like to stand up in front of the crew with no pants on? Nobody's watching.
That's okay. They're used to it.
I hope that's a headline tomorrow in Variety. He says it's okay. And all the hard questions.
And then the point there was the shoes. I think the shoes were patterned leather and turquoise.
Yeah. It's certainly colorful.
I thought his real, Lefty's real clothes were a little, and actually, it would be funny about that, they were actually too far out there, I think. Too many rhinestones and all kinds of things.
I don't remember that, but they were, it was pretty, that period too, was out there anyway.
So I think one of the reasons why this movie has aged so well is because we've gotten further and further away from that type of Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you can bring the family.
Yes. Yeah, they encourage you to bring your family. What happens in Vegas gets told world over now. It doesn't stay there anymore.
It's to stay there.
Yeah. So, did you two spend time in Vegas back then when it was like that? When it was that era of Vegas?
When I was a kid, I had a friend of mine who was a little older than me, and I cross country when I was about 17. And he worked as a dealer there in Vegas. He was 21, and so I hung out with him a couple of days. That was like the early the late 50s. It was a different world.
What was it like then?
Well, I remember we went to see, I think it was San Terra at one of the hotels there, but they were not, they were lower, they were different, whole different style. It was interesting.
You can see that in that film Ocean's 11, the original. The last 30 minutes or 40 minutes of the film actually has in widescreen color of the actual places, interior and exterior. It's like a document of the time. San Terra and the Witnesses. He used to play with Louis Prima and Keely Smith. San Terra was like the guru of Vegas. Right.
So here's the question: is Vegas better when it's run by the mafia, or is it better now that it's run by the corporations?
Difference there.
Is there a difference between the mafia and the corporations?
I'm just wondering, that's all I'm just saying. I'm asking a question.
You don't want to say anything controversial.
No.
Yeah.
Well, these days especially.
No, of course. It's a place like in the Old West where there's a place in a saloon, there were gamblers and there were, I guess, anything you want. I mean, it seems like it was a place meant for, I don't know, I wasn't alive in the 20s and 30s, so from what I understand, a lot of the gambling dens were illegal, and here's a place where it's legal, so all that kind of person would go there, and it was okay. It was like the island that they go to in Pinocchio. We could break stained glass windows, say, come on. So that was meant for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now it seems odd that it's meant for everybody.
So a lot was, one of the big things we were talking about when Casino came out was the violence. And you've talked about this a lot, the violence of Casino, and specifically the scene with poor Tony Dogg's in his eye. All because he wanted to hold Charlie Pugh's in there. So anyways, that's why I've seen it a lot. Charlie M.
He's never even mentioned again in the film.
No, I know. For Charlie M? I could recite the lines. What do you think about what you've talked about a lot then? What do you think about it now when people talk about violence in movies, and especially considering what's to come after Casino? Sure.
Okay.
He's talked enough.
The violence, I think by the end of the film, I was to say, by that point, I think we reached the limit on violence, for me, the kind of movies I was making, the limit of violence in movies. His incredible character, played by Pesci, is killed by his best friends with baseball bats and thrown naked, half naked, into a pit where his brother is living, you know, the body of his brother, in a cornfield.
It's a real kid stay out of crime movie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And scared straight kind of thing. That's what happens. That's what happens. That's where you wind up when your friends do it. You know. And so for me, I couldn't. After that film, I couldn't see anything anywhere else to go with depicting violence in such a way in movies. I mean, I played around with it again in Departed, and to a certain extent in The Irishman. But it seems that the Jacobean nature of it, the excessive nature of it particularly, is the scene with the head and the vice. And I mean, that's what it is. And it's based on a real incident with the character that Pesci plays that happened to him. And we had a prosthetic device where the eye was coming out, and I was doing it, like it just seemed like it became more like a horror film device, a prosthetic. And so we eliminated most of that, but we also had, issues with the censor and that sort of thing. But the point is that we couldn't really find a way around that moment, except that Pesci came up with it. And that was that when he put, whoever it is, I forget, what's it, Tony Dogs, put his name, put his head, he did say, don't let me be the bad guy. Please don't let me be the bad guy, because I want to do it. I am going to do it. Because what he meant, Joe, was that if Tony didn't give him the name, his head would be in the vice. You have no choice. So what is it? I mean, what would you do in that situation? Because your head's going in that vice otherwise. And then the guy came up with Charlie M, and then Joe improvised for him, as if now all of the character existed. And that day my mother was visiting the set. She really got mad.
She doesn't like the profanity.
She didn't like that at all. She got, don't have that kind of thing, Mom, it's fake, it's a prosthetic. We're not going to use the whole thing, But no, it became, the idea is that a certain kind of person in that world takes the level of violence in you as a human being, which you're capable of, and pushes you to the nth degree. Some people will just stop, You have that in a lot of situations where they say, and that's why it's in The Irishman where he says, I paint houses, I also do carpentry. Carpentry is getting rid of the body. Well, really, can you do that? I mean, so that's where it comes from. You've got to be in that life, you've got to be able to do that. And so the improv came out of that.
I mean, I think there's so many iconic moments from this movie. It's one of the reasons I think it's stayed around for 30 years, is that some of them would enter just popular culture and see NBA players talking like this. No, LeBron James regularly, they talk like this on camera, which is clearly a reference to Joe Pesci and Casino. You haven't seen it? You haven't seen that before? It happens all the time. I mean, not that we care what LeBron James is saying. It's not that serious. He's not talking about murdering people and breaking into
nobody wants, nobody should hear it.
Yeah, there's a picture of him and Kevin Durant both talking to each other.
Well, that's that thing you and Joe sort of improvised when that poor old guy walked through the shop with a bag, and Joe said, who's that guy? Who's that guy? I don't know. And was shooting with a long lens, so nobody knew there was a camera.
That was so that guy.
No, I don't know. I was just walking by.
I was gonna sack bar.
And Joe right away his instinct was who's that?
And I mean, I feel like you go anywhere, you can't see a blueberry muffin without talking about it. An equal amount of blueberries in every muffin. When you deliver that line, Mr. De Niro, do you know that? Are you aware that this is going to be around forever? I'm going to hear about this forever.
I haven't. I wanted to try to look at the movie before we had this tonight, but I didn't. So you have to remind me. I know the scene, of course, but what was it?
So it's you and Kevin Pollak as how many blueberries? Yeah, you opened up your blueberry.
I was just sticker for the amount of blueberries.
Yeah, his blueberry was his muffin was lousy with blueberries. Yeah. And yours have hardly any. I never thought I'd be doing this I live in the dream, everybody.
It's his place. People say, don't eat over there. The blueberries have no blueberries in them. That's why he's got to make sure there's enough.
Yeah.
More than one.
And then you go to the kitchen and you browbeat the chef fairly. He seems like an asshole. And you tell him, I want an equal amount of blueberries in every muffin, which doesn't seem that hard to be fair. But it's become a thing that is like has stuck around in pop culture about like an equal amount of blueberries in every muffin. So thank you. That's all I'm really saying.
Oh yeah, no, it's an infraction. We did something wrong.
So can we talk about the way this movie begins? A couple things I want to talk about. One, there is a sense that's affects Goodfellas that both movies start at some point later in the movie and then trace back to find that point. Now in Goodfellas it starts with in the car where Ray Liotta is like he's the guy's talking about banging about the car, and you sort of know, oh, that's going to be somewhere halfway in the movie. Now in this movie, because it's the car explosion, you think it's the end. You assume that that's it unless you know the true story. But what is the choice of starting the movie in that point? Starting in a place where the audience is going to be confused and thinking, this
Oh, no, why be confused because of an explosion? No, don't be confused.
the
You want to know what
audience
happens next?
Yeah, you want to know what happens next? Trust the movie. Trust it. If we do it right, you get caught. You see, this guy comes out, he's got a salmon-colored jacket, white, patent leather shoes, white pants, gets in this Cadillac, and talks about love and love being, people turning against you and thinking you had love at one point and you never did. Bam! And then on the soundtrack is Bach. Yeah. You may leave the theater at that point. I don't want to see a film like this.
Or you may think it's over.
You've been born right there. That's the way this kind of picture is. And then you go way back into, you fly into Las Vegas, and it becomes like a crazy kind of epic, in a way, a kind of epic of crime. And cameras flying in over Vegas at night, and the St. Matthew Passion being played. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And then it says, I think before that scene starts, it says adapted from a true story, but seems different than based on a true story. And I feel like, is that a thing you're doing? Is there something are you trying to really disconnect it from the people who are really involved? To, I don't know, maybe save your life. That's why I said, like, yeah, we heard about some things and we made a movie.
We heard some things too.
We heard some things, yeah.
No, it's true. We did have to do, remember, a great deal of changing names. We were even it's in the movie, we can't even say Chicago.
So that's true, because I've read that a lot.
Yeah, we had, when it cuts back to Chicago, these guys and the old Italian men, it had to be put back home.
Well, it's funny, it's one of the high moments of comedy, there's lots of comedy there, where Joe Pesci says, back home, and then the screen says, back home. As a comedian, I was like, that's perfect.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we know we're back home, but we're not allowed to say it.
Without getting into any unfortunate, did you feel pushback from anybody in the community once the movie came out? Normally when I say in the community, I mean the black community, but you know what I mean.
No. There were meetings in Vegas with a number of people who were, told to be careful and remember that it's based on real people, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the point is that the material, including the head and the vice, is public knowledge, and it is apparently factual. We changed the names, we changed so many things, but naturally, those who know characters that's based upon, they know the truth, and these are elements of the truth. I remember we got word that I heard about John Goodfellas. He said it's a lot of nonsense because Tommy, played by Joe Pesci, the real one it's based upon, he was much taller. Yeah, obviously, okay, but since it's a film, we're making the impression thereof. But naturally there are people, there are families and that sort of thing, and there was some pushback, push back forward, so to speak, before we were shooting. I had a lot of people talking to me.
Speaking of Joe Pesci, because as you said, the character he played Goodfellas was taller than him, but I heard that he was so cast perfectly, he was playing a version of Tommy the Ant, Spilatro, and that he was also a short guy, hence the nickname the Ant, and that the dealers and people who worked in Vegas who were there when you were filming it actually he so resembled Tommy that they were afraid of him. Is that true?
That's true, but they also said that Joe's, I have to say that they told us some of the dealers said he was much tougher. Joe was being sweeter.
It's Tony's below.
Tony Schwartz, I'm sorry.
Tommy was
Tony's in
Goodfellas.
Yeah, I'm getting, even I get confused sometimes. I'm sorry.
But they, some of the, like the dealers in the movie, they could see the real dealers, and they actually dealt to Spilotro and those guys. So they said, oh no, this guy is tough. But they liked him. They didn't like Lefty. They didn't like the character you played. They liked
Like the violent tough guy.
Well, he
Or
was
the-
like, see that the paradox is the open-hearted person, meaning a loving person at times to people, and very kind, and being a real tough guy, to say the least. Whereas the Rothstein character was cold, was had cold eyes, and felt that there was no hope there. I don't believe it entirely, but he had to be really tough his own way.
Well, I can understand it. The time I spent with him, I liked him. We had a good relationship, but it was just, I could see that. The professional side, being certain things, he'd be different with people that are working for him, just the boss and blah, blah, blah.
So in the few moments we have left before these people see Casino, I would love for each of you to just spare a moment for, there's filmmakers in this audience who probably have films here in competition, filmmakers who are beginning their career. What would you like to leave them with? What would you like to tell them with? Maybe something they can learn from the movie Casino, that you, even though you were in the middle of your career, you still had to deal with challenges like the casino not closing while you're making a movie about the casino. What would you, is there anything you can tell or share with these filmmakers out here?
Just that what appears to be something that, it's, well, you have all the money, you have everything working for you. It's never really the case. I mean, even if, often if you get a bigger budget, it's worse in terms of production. It's harder, I should say. And it's also, the more money, the more risk. And therefore, the pressure is always for taking less chances aesthetically and artistically. I think it was Arthur Penn who told me when I was a young filmmaker, I was trying to, way before I made Mean Streets. I loved his work, Bonnie and Clyde, Left-Handed Gun and stuff. And I got to meet him, and he said, remember, don't lose that amateur status. And he was right. You struggle to get feeling like an amateur. An amateur means amateur, it's Latin, means love. That's the thing you gotta hold on to. With all the money flying around and all the glamour and the glitz and the quote awards, unquote, because there's so many, what do they really mean anymore? So the only thing you have to keeps you as a beginner.
Don't lose the amateur status. That's great. Those are great words. After, do you feel like you still have that amateur status?
I try. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, I believe you.
I try. I mean, it is this today, let's finish this in a day and a half, or, it's all right, but rather than killing yourself, working 14, 15 hours, but things that are in the way that really don't matter to the heart of the scene, for example, with the actors, what's going on, the literature that they're dealing with, the writing. It's always trying to capture, again, when I first imagined making a movie.
Mr. De Niro, this festival came out of the wake of 9/11 and wanting to bring the arts back to this part of town, to New York, and bring filmmakers back, and those were very political times. These are very political times. What would you say to the young artists who are here right now, or the newer artists here right now who have worked in this festival and in these times we live in?
I just say, follow through on what you want to do. The only person you have is yourself to keep going. You just got to keep doing it and believe in yourself. God helps those who help themselves. It's a deal.
I think they were really upset by it turns out, I didn't plan it that way, but it turns out the dark humor of it, the humor and the violence together, that's it. They won't have it.
As a comedian, that's what attracted me to it. It's just so dark and so funny. Carmine's gone. So I would say thank you for your service, both of you. Thank you for your artistry. I think it's all we're doing. Keep your amateur status. Thank you, everybody.